All
I'll
right.
explain later.
It doesn't matter. What's good? What's happening, everybody? It's your boy, Fares and Muthana, and welcome to another great episode of The Rally. It's your boy, and we are coming to you live from Studio A and A1.
A1.
A1. You're A1.
Okay.
A1 steak sauce. You know what it is. But today we are talking about the great Roland Garros finals of this year's 2025 edition of the French Open. We are back. But this year it was a little different.
Mm-hmm.
It was the final acknowledgement of Rafa Nadal is no longer going to be with us.
As a player, no.
As a player,
I bet
no,
he'll
yeah.
be there every year.
Yeah, exactly.
I bet he'll be there every year.
Yeah, exactly. But to talk about it, none other than the biggest Rafa fan that I know. It's the one, the only. Adelia. Adelia, how are you?
I'm doing good, Ferris. Been a rough week for me personally, but I've enjoyed having the tennis to sort of concentrate on.
Mm-hmm.
And the finals were phenomenal. So
Finals were phenomenal. We had a couple of good storylines as well. One involving I believe, Lois Boisson. Is that her? She was, I believe, 341st in the world.
61st. 361st.
361st in the world. And she made it to the semifinals. We'll talk about that as well. But we also talk about other things as well. Let me bring up my notes to get a little overview about it. Let's talk about it. Rafa Nadal was honored with a tribute ceremony during the first week, including a plaque of one of his footprints on court Philippe Chatrier. That is not just for the tournament, but will remain there. It's forever.
Yeah.
Forever.
That's really cool. That's really cool.
Carlos Alcaraz was seen taking a picture of it before his semifinal victory against Lorenzo Musetti. Why not? Take a picture next to his foot. You know what I mean? Cool with you, You know, Quentin Tarantino must have loved that. But we got to keep doing that. Other random notes, Adelia. Victoria Azarenka became the oldest woman to score a double bagel in a single major draw in her match. She became the first woman to have achieved such a feat in 3 different decades. Mm-hmm. So shout out to Vika, legendary.
Yeah.
This also
poor Yanina Wickmeyer. That's all I'll say. It's never a good feeling when you get double bageled.
No, it's not. This also marked the final French Open appearance of former world number 4 and 2 times doubles champion Caroline Garcia, who lost in the first round to American Bernarda Pera.
Mm-hmm. And
then also 1/4 of the modern day 4 musketeers of French tennis. Richard Gasquet also retired after Roland Garros, so it's over him. There was a tattoo parlor in the players' zone that apparently inked up 8 to 10 players and coaches and administrators a day, so people got their tattoos on. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know if you've seen. He's not the tournament director. I forget what role he plays there, but he's just covered in tattoos, and so he knew this guy, and he said, "Why don't you come on down to Roland Garros, set up in the players' lounge?" And the players and coaches and stuff took advantage of it. So,
hey man, what an amenity! You know what I mean? For years, for years it was like, oh, we have a barbershop here, or we have that. They're like, you know what, guys? Tattoos. Shout out to the French. Always doing something different. You know what I mean? Shout out to y'all. We keep going down a deal. We keep going down. News compared to one of our favorite players. I think we both love her. Elena Rybakina, her coach, Stefano Vukov, was in Paris with her. He's purportedly preparing an appeal to be activated for Wimbledon. Rybakina is expected to testify in his defense. So she
needs to get away from him.
Yes.
But I don't see that happening since she's in a relationship with him. And yeah.
Yes.
And I hope they don't let him coach at Wimbledon.
But then, great news in the French Open. Lucas Ferron, I think. Ferron, a 28-year-old Frenchman who's bound to a wheelchair, was among the line judges of the tournament. Ferron was attacked in the French city of
Poitiers
in November 2022 in an unprovoked attack by a fellow motorist who dragged him out of his car and violently assaulted him. Spent a month in a coma. Then more than a year later in rehabilitation, even though there was his final major with the lines judges, it was always wonderful to see him call those lines. I will talk about some of the line calling, a little
Yeah,
bit
well,
later.
we have some line calling to talk
Yeah.
about. I think it's a good thing that they're moving away from the line judges, but always good to see Lucas back out there doing what he loves after
Absolutely.
such a horrible attack.
Yes. But then that's how he's bringing it up, Adelia. This was the last year with the human eye. Next year we're gonna do like electronic line calling. Let's talk about that, Adelia, because I believe because I asked you why, and then you told me it's kind of difficult with clay. So how are they going to do it next year if if it's difficult to predict in the
They
clay?
they've gotten the Hawkeye system down to within a margin of error that the tours and the people, the ITF that puts on the Grand Slams is comfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it used to be that the margin of error was, the Hawkeye was outside the margin of error, and now it's within this margin of error that they've agreed to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Human line judges have always been a blessing and a curse in tennis
Mm-hmm.
because you're either really spot on at what you do or you make mistakes. And everybody at one point in time or another has made a big mistake in a match. And that's why we had the invention of the challenge system, which has eventually become the electronic line calling by Hawkeye. Um, I'm gonna miss the fact that all these people are not gonna be there. I mean, that's a lot of people at a tournament that are
Unemployed.
losing their jobs.
Yep, there's a lot of unemployment.
So that sucks. But I think the electronic line calling is actually something that needs to happen at all the major tournaments, and I'm glad it's going to happen at Roland Garros next year. I mean, we saw a massive missed call in the men's final
Mm-hmm.
that I don't know that you could say it swayed the entire outcome of the match, but it definitely was at a very pivotal point, and Yannick Sinner kind of got screwed on that point. And no replay, no nothing. The chair umpire didn't overrule it. Like, it was just an
Yeah.
error, and that wouldn't happen with the electronic line calling.
Yeah, because it would have forced Alcaraz into his second serve instead of staying on his first serve, and you don't know what's gonna happen. Does
Yeah.
Alcaraz still keep the same velocity on the serve on the second because he has to guaranteed it in, so he may probably take off some power, and then they play a rally. Maybe we don't know, so it's kind of a coulda, woulda, shoulda. So we don't really know what's gonna happen. So yeah, there's that. Also, too, like I know this is not the soccer episode, but hey, Premier League, get your shit together, all right?
Yeah.
Put the damn cameras, all right, down, all right. If they can do it on clay, you can put a camera at Ellen Road, okay, all right. So miss me with your nonsense. You could have put a camera at I don't know, another small stadium. I don't know the G Tech Stadium at Brentford, whatever.
Where the heck is the name of Luton's Kenilworth Road?
Yeah, you can put a camera down there. Okay, don't
You
play
can.
me. Don't play me. Right? But we
I
move on.
will say tennis has been, since the invention of the Hawkeye technology, at the forefront of using it in ways like this. So I think it'll be good for them to go to just strictly electronic line calling at the major events.
So when you said the margin of victory is they're comfortable with it, margin of error is they're comfortable with it. Is it the other majors? Is the margin smaller?
Well, it's harder to get an exact mark on clay.
Yeah.
So because of the fact that the clay moves around and can, blow around on the court in windy conditions and things like that, the clay has always been harder to get that precise mark on the computer system for. They've had electronic line calling in some capacity with the challenge system going back 15, maybe even more than that years now, and it's never been used at the French Open before because it could never be accurate enough, and now they're finally conceding that it is accurate enough to use next year.
Because I believe shout out to Yelena Ostapenko. It's mortal enemy to the day she dies.
Yeah.
Shout out to you. There's no challenges. They just have to
There are
accept
no
the line,
challenges.
right?
They have to
They
accept.
the line.
They can request to see the mark on the computer system, but it's not going to change it. That's just the way that the call is. You can't argue with it. Yelena Ostapenko tries to argue with it, but you can't argue with it. So, yeah.
Yeah, because I believe because hard court is more, because it's very, stationary and it's finite. It's really easy. Grass. Grass is grass.
Yeah, it wasn't entirely accurate on grass at first either, but they've honed the technology and really got it down to a science now, and it works
Yeah,
great at
that's what it
Wimbledon,
is.
and
Yeah, that's what it
hopefully it
is.
works great at Roland Garros next year.
Yeah, because because they didn't do it for years, so they don't know if it's going to be accurate, right? So now this year,
like they've had the available and testing at Roland Garros for many years now, the electronic line calling. It just hasn't been in use as like this is how the lines are being called. There's always been the human line judges there calling the lines. But the computers were available to the media.
yes,
So
TNT.
but like for many years, Tennis Channel, ESPN before that would have a mark to go look at and be like, did the chair umpire overrule that right or rule that right? And so I think it's just finally gotten to a point where it's like we can't keep having these stoppages in a match for the chair umpire to get down out of the chair, go
See the
look at the
indentation.
mark, argue with the player about whether the mark is in or out, and all of this. And so we're just going to go to the electronic line calling.
But you know what I like about it, though, Adelia?
What?
It won't get rid of the great points on the baseline.
No, it won't.
Thank the Lord.
Clay court tennis is my favorite type of tennis.
Yeah. Because we'll talk about it. We'll talk about a point that Jannik Sinner had that was just majestic because of just like the presentation of the point, and it's awesome. We'll talk about that later. But someone we didn't expect to have a good French Open was 22-year-old French woman from Dijon, France, Lois Boisson. Can you take us through why we didn't expect that?
She was supposed to be a wild card at the French Open last year. And then the week before Roland Garros, tore her ACL. So she spent the past year rehabbing, coming back from that. She came back earlier this year. She had an unfortunate incident with Harriet Dart that made a lot of news when Harriet Dart said something very unflattering about her, needing to put on some deodorant.
She stinks.
Yeah, that was I still can't believe that actually happened. But she got a wild card into Roland Garros this year, and she just started winning. She entered the tournament as the world number 361. She beat 24 seed Elise Mertens. She beat Anna Helena Kalinina. She beat Elsa Giacomo. And then she beat back-to-back top 10 players in world number 3, Jessie Pegula, and world number 6, Mira Andreeva, to reach the semifinals, where she fell to eventual champion Coco Gauff. Just unbelievable. She's the first wild card player in the Open era to make the semifinals of a slam on her main draw debut at that slam. At Roland Garros, as a French woman, I can't imagine how special that was for her. She's the first woman to make the quarterfinals in her major main draw debut since Spaniard Carla Suarez Navarro in 2008 made the quarterfinals as a qualifier at Roland Garros. You'll find a lot of these happened at Roland Garros. She's the lowest ranked. Clay's a different beast. It's a different beast.
Yeah.
She's the lowest ranked quarterfinalist and semifinalist at Roland Garros in the last 40 years, and the lowest ranked quarterfinalist at any Grand Slam since Kaya Kanepi reached the 2017 US Open quarterfinals, ranked number 418 in the world. She's the first. Lois Boisson is the first woman in 35 years to reach the semifinals at her first major. The last one to do it was Jennifer Capriati, the American, at Roland Garros in 1990, who
We'll
had
talk about
done
the
it.
Americans a little bit later.
Yeah, we'll talk about the Americans a little later. And she was only the third woman to do it in the Open era after Monica Seles had done it the year before at the 1989 French Open. Lois Boisson. Sure.
My love for Monica Seles grew when I would watch when I'm watching like Andy Murray's podcast.
Andy Roddick.
What did I say?
Murray.
Why do I keep getting those mixed up?
I don't know.
Sorry. It's the Andes. It throws me off.
It's the Andes, yeah.
Yeah, Andy Roddick's. So he talked about how he doesn't get starstruck around people because a lot of these people are his friends. Because like imagine you're Andy Roddick. You're like, oh yeah, me and my friend Andre Agassi had dinner. Like, that's crazy, dog. You're friends with Andre Agassi. So he's like, yeah, man. So he's not really like shell shocked. He's like, oh, I know Steffi. He knows her as Steffi. You know what I mean? We know her as Steffi Graf. He knows her as Steffi. But he was like, I met Monica Seles, and I almost lost my shit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Monica Seles, why? And then you realize how goddamn dominant she was at 16 to 19, 15 to 19. Just pure eradication. And if, unfortunately, if the incident never happens, could she have 15, 20? We don't know. Maybe
I think
not.
there's I know a lot of people might consider this sacrilege, but I think you could make a real argument that Monica Seles would have more slams than Steffi Graf.
Yes.
I really do think you could make that argument if the unfortunate stabbing incident hadn't occurred.
Yeah, because she lost, what, 4 years?
She lost a lot of her career.
She lost 3 or 4 years. Yeah, exactly. PTSD, injury, anxiety. I think she battled depression for a bit. Monica Seles, man, she was a true phenomenal unit. Shout out to you, Monica Seles. Come on the show, Monica Seles. Let's talk. Continue with it.
Okay. Lois Boisson, the first French woman into the Roland Garros semifinals since Marion Bartoli in 2011, so 14 years ago. They've waited for another French woman to make it to the semifinals. Like I said, her fairy tale run ended in the semifinals by eventual champion Coco Gauff. But as a result of making the semifinals, her ranking moved up nearly 300 spots to number 65 in the world. That's the biggest jump in rankings in singles in the 21st century. She started the tournament as the French number 24 on the women's side. She ended the tournament as the French number 1.
That's
it's
wild.
Pretty crazy.
That's wild. Wild.
Yo, Jay, how's it going?
How you doing, Jay?
Being seeded number 65 means that she'll get direct entry into the US Open. It's probably too late for her to get direct entry into Wimbledon. I would not be surprised if Wimbledon gives her a wild card.
I think they will.
Yeah.
Because the wild cards are for
the wild cards are for basically who the tournament deems deserves a chance to be in the main draw without having to go through qualifying.
Yeah, and it's usually like, kind of like a health thing. It was like, a
health thing or an up and coming youngster from that country or something like that.
Yeah.
But there is precedence for someone doing a phenomenal job at a Grand Slam, and then at the following Grand Slam, they're like, you know what, this is too close together for you to have gotten the benefits of the phenomenal job you did, say in Roland Garros. So we'll give you a direct entry.
Yeah,
even though,
because Australia gives wild card to Americans, and then the U.S. Open gives some wild cards for Australia, and
there's
so
reciprocal
so
stuff there too.
Yeah.
So
the French and the English Wimbledon, did this. But Adelia, you keep talking about she lost to the eventual champion. Let's talk about that women's final.
Yeah,
let's talk about it.
Coco
Gauff, first American to win Roland Garros since, if we're doing men and women.
Well, let's be clear. It's just the women who have won it recently.
Oh yeah, because duh. Yes, and Serena.
There's not a man man that has won it, I think, since Agassi.
Yeah, in 2003, correct? 2?
Yeah.
3-2?
I don't remember what year Agassi.
Yeah, I believe yes, 2015, Serena. And then you start really thinking about Adelia, how much the women carried us.
Oh, yeah.
And more specifically, the Williams sisters, because they're I'm not gonna say gone. They're retired. They are gone. And then you start seeing,
I don't think Venus is technically retired yet.
Yeah, technically she's not retired, but
I don't think we will ever get a wake up one morning and see a Vogue article the way we saw Serena's retirement announced.
I think Venus is just gonna
stop playing. I think and just never say anything.
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm good. She was on the coverage. I believe she did certain stuff for TNT or.
I saw that. I didn't get to see too much of it because I was on vacation and then had a lot going on this week. But I did see that Venus was on the coverage. Jay saying Coco, and not just the movie.
Not just the movie, baby. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you clearly see like if you take Serena's, did Venus win? I don't think Venus ever won Roland Garros.
I don't think Venus won the French Open. No.
Yeah, so if you take out Serena's victories, it would be no American had won it since 2003. And you see how just the barren wasteland of American tennis at Roland Garros, it was something that couldn't do. And then also great about Coco Gauff is she didn't just, she came back because she made the final. And she got, we can say smoked, outclassed, you name it. But she came back and she fought back. It was pure grit and determination and tenacity for this match. She goes down 4-1 Adelia in the first set. She ends up losing the first set 7-6, but she crawls back to a 7-6 tie-breaking loss. And I think that was like, okay, if I can do that, I have this match in the bag. What do you think, Adelia?
I think that this match was very reminiscent of the U.S. Open final that these two played against each other, where hard fought first set, Arena takes it, and then Coco comes out and just goes to another gear and wins the next two sets. I mean, I was struck watching it how very similar it was to their U.S. Open final.
Yeah.
Andre Agassi, by the way, won the French Open in 1999. So Serena won it in 2002.
Oh, okay. Did Agassi win it? Oh, Agassi won. Didn't Agassi win 2001 U.S. Open then? That's what I'm thinking. Am I getting it mixed up? I don't know. Maybe.
I'm not sure.
It doesn't matter. Me and Andre Agassi, we got beef. So I don't care.
If you take out Serena, no American had won in Paris since 99. But you can't take out Serena because she's Serena and we love her.
Exactly. We can't. But speaking of Adelia,
hey, Brennan, how's it going?
Hey, Brennan, how you doing? So about how much of a great victory this was about for Coco. Let me tell you some stats about Sabalenka.
Yeah.
Arena Sabalenka was the first woman to reach 3 consecutive finals at the majors since Serena Williams in 2016. Sabalenka ended Iga Swiatek's 26-match winning streak at Roland Garros in the semifinals. Swiatek's streak was the second longest by a woman in French Open history, second to Christy Everett's 29 straight victories. So she came in fully prepared to win, right? People, and they both played in the same conditions. People have been going after Sabalenka for her comments in her press conference. Like, oh, the conditions. She kept talking about the conditions, not saying that, and not giving credit to Coco, but I truly believe Coco shows the mental fortitude with her men. And here's the she didn't look she was physically outmatched. I remember when did Jessie Pegula make the Australian Open final?
The U.S. Open final.
The U.S. Open final. It just looked that Sabalenka was going to outmatch her physically.
Yeah, Jessie in that match at the U.S. Open last September just didn't look like she could challenge Sabalenka.
Yeah.
Coco can challenge Sabalenka.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. I think physically she's there, she's ready, and she's not gonna. Also, too, like right here, Adelia. We say this all the time. Me and you. This sport is the purest example of 90% mental, 10% physical, right? And we'll talk about the men's final, the prime example of that. Yeah. And Coco Gauff saw it, and she was like, because Coco Gauff down, and she comes back, and she takes it mental monster. She's like, I've been in this position before with her. I took her out at the U.S. Open. I'm gonna do it today. Coco Gauff. She was the girls' Roland Garros champion when she was in her early teens, which is crazy to say because she started on the tour at 16. So I think she won it when she was 14 or 15. So she's won Roland Garros in the youth bracket, but she's won it, and so it's not like she hasn't been here. And I'm so happy because I'm gonna say it, Adelia. I'm a harsh critic. The men are a disappointment. I'm disappointed in them.
I will say, I thought that there was some good out of the American men in this tournament. We got 2 men to the quarterfinals at the French Open for the first time in 30 years.
Yes.
Unfortunately, they both then basically shit the bed. Francis especially. We'll talk more about that when we talk about the men's stuff. The women are more consistent than the men are, for sure.
Yes, Pegula made a final. Emma Navarro made multiple semis. Coco has won multiple Grand Slams. So the women, again, like the Williams sisters, are carrying us.
Mm-hmm.
And and at one point, I'm not gonna, I don't know, I'm gonna toot my own horn. American men were usually the best player on tour. You had McEnroe and Borg. They fought each other for that title. And then after they retired, you had Courier, Agassi, and Sampras. All three were around each other. And then you had Sampras and Agassi.
And Michael Chang.
Michael Chang, speaking of Michael Chang, he was there, 1989 French Open champion. Michael Chang, shout out to you, babe. But so having a standard for the men, I don't think is harsh. And I've honestly, screw them. Let's not talk about them. Let's talk about Coco. Forget about them.
Yeah.
They don't deserve our breath right now. Coco Gauff, the future. I am so happy. She's gonna be appointment viewing for me, Adelia. She's appointment viewing.
She's been appointment viewing for me ever since she came to Wimbledon when she was 16.
Yep.
Or she might have even been 15 at that point.
Yeah. I think she turned 16 during the tournament.
I think so.
Yeah.
And made the 4th round.
Yeah.
She beat Venus. Like, she's phenomenal, and she's just getting better and better. She's got a very, very good head on her shoulders. She's not letting it get to be too much. She's very mentally strong. She's won 2 majors, which is more than any American woman other than Serena can say in a while. And I think she's gonna keep going because I will say credit to Sabalenka as well. In her first 19 Grand Slams on tour that she made the main draw in, she made 3 semifinals. In the last 10, she's only failed to make the semifinals once. So she's very consistent. She's very worthy world number 1. She deserves to be the number 1 in the world. But Coco now up to number 2 in the world, now with this title. I'm really curious how Wimbledon goes.
I think Coco's gonna. I don't know. I'm a big fan because it's the one. Because Coco has she had a good Wimbledon appearance?
I forget. I'm gonna look this up real quick. I forget what her Wimbledon last year was. I know she lost to Emma Navarro, but I forget what round. And it was kind of surprising that Emma Navarro beat her last year.
All right, so Adelia, so her best ever
quarterfinals.
Yeah, the fourth round. Yeah,
she made the quarterfinals last year. Oh, that's doubles. No,
it's doubles.
Round. Fourth round.
Yeah, fourth round. Yeah. She hasn't gone past the 4th round in Wimbledon. Yeah, Australia, she's been to the semis.
This will give her great confidence, though.
Yeah. I'm not comparing her to Rafa, but that was the thing about Rafa, right? Wimbledon. Can you do it on red?
Yeah. Here's the thing about Rafa that I think people don't get is he loves to play on clay, and he's very good at it. He's the best clay court player we've ever seen. He wanted to win Wimbledon more. That's the one he wanted. So that's the one he taught himself how to play on grass for. Exactly. He could have been perfectly fine being like a lot of the South Americans and Spaniards of the days prior to him came along, do really well on the clay court season, and then basically take the grass court season off and come back for the hard court season in the summer in North America.
Yeah.
He didn't do that. He wanted to win Wimbledon, and he won Wimbledon twice. And
with his weak hand.
Yes, with his weak hand.
Sorry,
Fares, you're never not going to bring that up.
Right? Never. That's amazing. I don't know why people don't. I don't know why people don't talk about it more.
I mean, if I could dominate a sport with my non-dominant hand, I would want everyone to be talking about that. So I understand.
Exactly.
I think that Coco has that sort of mentality where she wants to win everything. It's not just she'd be happy to win the U.S. Open. She's won the U.S. Open. Okay, now she's won Roland Garros. That means there's 2 more out there that she hasn't won yet. Her best showing in Australia is the semifinals last year. And her best showing in Wimbledon's a 4th round. And you know what? I bet she's really sick and tired of getting to the 4th round at Wimbledon. She wants to get over that hump and make the quarterfinals.
Absolutely.
And the thing about Coco is she's young enough that she can set that goal really to be like a baby step right now. It's not, let's go to Wimbledon and win it this year. If it happens, great. But let's make the quarterfinals. And next year, let's make the semifinals and keep going. And I think that she's just got such a great head on her shoulders. and her family support is really good. You can just tell that that's a very close knit family that just wants her to enjoy what she's doing. And if she came to them tomorrow and said, I don't want to do this anymore, they'd all be like, okay, stop.
And she also has the support of a great man behind her.
Yeah.
Spike Lee. All right.
Spike Lee. I have to say, there were so many celebrities at Roland Garros this year. It was kind of crazy.
Yeah. Ernie in Paris was there. Ernie Johnson. You know, the spinoff of Emily in Paris.
Yeah.
There's that.
Lily Collins, who is Emily in Paris, was there.
Also there.
Eddie Redmayne. Eddie Redmayne was there,
Yes.
helping little French kids get balls signed by Djokovic.
Yeah.
And Sinner.
I believe Dirk Nowitzki and Tony Parker were there.
Antoine Dupont, the French rugby legend, was there as well. Sitting with Tony Parker.
Yeah. Multiple PSG players were there. Ousmane Dembele, Nuno Mendes.
It's becoming a thing.
Joao
And I think a
Neves.
lot of people, let's tie this into the women and the men as well. I think a lot of people were concerned when Serena retired and Roger retired and Rafa retired. Andy Murray's gone. Djokovic is on the way out. We'll talk about him in a minute. I think a lot of people were concerned about, do we have the star power to keep people coming to the sport? And I would argue that the sport, because of people like Coco and Arena, and because of people like Alcaraz and Sinner, is in a better place right now than it has been in a while. Because you don't know who's going to win between these guys. And you don't know if either one of them isn't going to make it there. Because we've seen Zverev in a final. We've seen Medvedev in a final. Medvedev was a disaster in this tournament, as he usually is on clay. But we've seen other people reach finals and have runs. And it's much more competitive, I feel like, than it was.
I think you're right, Adelia, because I think people were scared because they were seeing the big three age, and they were like, okay, the ones behind him are going to take them out.
The problem is that no one could beat the big three.
Exactly.
And the fact that Sinner, Alcaraz too, but the fact that Sinner and Alcaraz can consistently beat Djokovic, I think is great.
And in finals.
In semifinals, in big matches, I think it's great. Because the generations before them that came up behind the big three just couldn't. You had a couple of guys. You had Stan Wawrinka, you had Andy Murray, and that's about it, that were capable of upsetting one of them every once in a while. Shout
out to Stan the Man, legendary French Open final champion with his good old shorts.
But for so long there, it was. Well, it's not you went into a tournament. You knew that the semifinals was going to be
three of them and another guy.
The three of them and probably Andy Murray or Stan Wawrinka.
Yeah. Because also to Adelia, so Stan and Andy were kind of with them. It's the people behind Stan and Andy that people are kind of extremely disappointed in. And let's call them let's call spades. We're talking about Matteo Berrettini, Andrei Rublev, Sasha Zverev.
Well, I'm talking about guys way before them.
Oh, them too. Oh yeah,
Dimitrov.
Dimitrov, yeah.
Cilic broke through and got one, but that was in a tournament where I don't think Rafa played, and Djokovic and Federer got upset, and which was very rare. I'm glad that we have these great matches between Alcaraz and Sinner and stuff now, but I'm also glad that even though I don't like him, Zverev can get in there when he's playing well, or Medvedev, or
that's why I'm so
other
excited
people.
For Ben. So I'm excited for Ben. If Ben throws his name in there, because Fritz.
I think Fritz can get back to a place where he's at a Grand Slam final again. It's never going to be at Roland Garros. I don't think.
He made the final at the U.S. Open. Sinner won it, unfortunately, in the American perspective, but he made one at the U.S. Open. But then
Ben Shelton for me is the most well-rounded of all the Americans.
Yes.
And so he can play on all the surfaces. He hasn't put it together to go all the way to Grand Slam final yet, but I feel like it's coming.
Yeah, man. I'm waiting. Yeah. I'm waiting. I think it was. I think when he made the quarterfinals at the Australian, where he lost to Djokovic, but it was kind of like, I'm here. but he needs to just keep with the consistency. Match his significant others, also intensity. Shout out to Trinity Rodman. Couples goals. Shout out. But but also to Adelia when we talk about, I want to bring it back to Wimbledon. I think in the tennis world, it's kind of like Wimbledon's right here, right? It's the Wimbledon. It's Wimbledon. It's called the championship. It's
The
Wimbledon.
championships at Wimbledon, yeah.
The championships at Wimbledon, right? And then right underneath them, I'm not saying they're not as prestigious. They are prestigious, but they're slightly right underneath Wimbledon is the U.S. and the French. And then there's the Australian Open. That's kind of like the weird cousin.
The Happy Slam.
The Happy Slam. You know what I mean? Like for years it was outdoors.
Here's
on grass,
the thing. I think. Well, I mean, like to be fair, the U.S. Open has been on clay and on grass and on hard court. It's just all changed throughout the years.
Yeah.
The Australian Open, I think, is the one that the players enjoy the most.
Yeah.
Wimbledon's the most prestigious. If you're from certain parts of the world, you want to win Roland Garros more than anything. And if you're American, the U.S. Open is the pinnacle.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that we have that difference and that we've got guys, who really would prefer to win one versus another, but they'll take any of them.
Mm-hmm. Also, too, because I feel like also the U.S. Open that no one really talks about is like it's a madhouse.
It is a madhouse.
They're not stopping you late and you walking in and you yelling. They're not stopping you. They're not shushing you. They're gonna tell the player, "Play on, dog. Get your head out your butt." And
it's New York.
It's New York, dog. The hell? Come on, man. I think also too sometimes, big Kendrick Lamar quote. Jay says, "Man, F word, the big F word, the big three. Who's the big me?" Unfortunately, Jay, it's the new two.
The new two. I hate that name.
Yeah,
I know Jim Carrey came up with it. It's not going to stick. It's
not.
just not going to stick.
Shout out to Jim. Yeah, I like Jim.
Jim's good.
I want every American to play tennis like Jim Courier at that French Open against Andre Agassi.
Let's divert our attention to a second for the coverage on TNT. First year on TNT.
Let's do it.
I thought they did a phenomenal job.
I think they did well as well.
It's so much better than the Tennis Channel NBC duology that we've had for the last several years.
Mm-hmm.
I liked a lot about it. I liked that we didn't have a 3-man booth with both McEnroe brothers like ESPN likes to do for the final. I like that we got Lindsay Davenport for the women's final.
Yes, we did.
Instead of Chrissy Everett, who I love Chrissy. Don't get me wrong. I do. But sometimes when she's watching a match and she goes off on one of her tangents, I do sometimes question if she's watched a tennis match in the last 30 years. Like, this goes back to my thing where I say if you are pinnacle top of your sport, you're going to make a terrible commentator because you're not going to be able to explain processes and what players are thinking because you just did it on instinct. And so that's why I don't like John McEnroe's commentary. Patrick's a little more tolerable to me, but I still don't like him very much because he tries to do too many catchphrases. Chrissy, I just think doesn't know how to explain some of this stuff the way somebody else would, like Lindsay Davenport or a Pam Shriver who had to work really hard for everything that she got.
Mary Jo.
Even though she's Mary Jo. I just think that there's something to my theory that if you're just too good at a sport, you don't know how to explain how you did it. Like over on ESPN, my favorite guys on ESPN are Darren Cahill and Jason Goodall, who were never Grand Slam champions, but they had to work really hard for what they got. And Darren Cahill's turned into one of the best coaches because he knows how to explain and translate that to players. And Jason Goodall is just one of the best commentators because he can make sense to the people watching at home who aren't necessarily, elite athletes. So
no, I'm with you. I can't really speak on the NBC Tennis Channel, ESPN hogwash thing that you guys have been.
I've been watching it for 20 years. It was so nice to see something different.
Yeah. So I can't really comment on it because I never really, we started this podcast. I'm a newer fan. I'm not new, but I'm newish still. So I can't really comment on that. And you know what? They were blessed this year They were blessed. They lost the NBA rights, and then God was like, let's have one of the greatest tennis finals of all time. Let's talk about one of the greatest tennis finals of all time.
Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it. The second longest final in major history.
In the open era.
In the open era, only behind, I believe, Australia
2012, between Djokovic and Nadal. That one went almost 6 hours. This one was almost a little over 5.5.
Exactly.
This match was phenomenal.
Oh my God.
It was so good. I remember sitting there watching it, and Sinner had his 3 championship points in the fourth set. And I was just like, Carlos is not out of this yet.
No, he's not.
It's 3 championship points down, and he is not out of this. And that kid has another gear that he can go to mentally. Like we talked about Coco having that, but Carlos is on another level from even Coco's.
Oh my God. It was insane, Adelia. He was dead to rights. He was dead to
He was a point away from losing for 3 straight points and just didn't give up, didn't relent, didn't make a mistake. And, credit to Yannick, who got a little rattled after he lost the 3 championship points and then served for the match, got broken. He got a little rattled, but he got himself back, got it back on serve, and got it to a tiebreak in the 5th. And Carlos was just like, okay, you've seen me in first gear and second gear. Now I'm going to go to 5th gear, and just took over that tiebreak. That's one of the best match tiebreaks I've ever seen someone play under that kind of pressure. And I think that this match might have been slightly different if Yannick had played in the last 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
But because he didn't, he wasn't necessarily maybe as mentally match tough as he normally would have been. Plus the fact that he hadn't lost a set coming into the final.
Nope.
He didn't get tested. And he got tested in the final. And, all credit to him for taking it all the way to the end. He actually won more points in that match than Alcaraz did by 1. But it was more points for Sinner. I think it was 193 points for Sinner and 192 points for Alcaraz.
Mm-hmm.
Extremely evenly matched. These two have tremendous chemistry on court together. And this rivalry between the two of them, which is friendly and respectful, and they have nice things to say about each other when it's over, is exactly the kind of thing that developed between Federer and Nadal.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that they're Federer and Nadal. But Carlos has won exactly as many majors at this age, this exact age, as Nadal had won at this age. The only one he's missing is the Australian Open.
Well, speaking of like Nadal, Carlos Alcaraz won his 5th major at the exact same age as Rafa Nadal won his 5th major.
Exact same age.
22 years, 1 month, and 3 days old.
Yeah. Rafa's was at Wimbledon, I believe.
Yes.
Because his birthday was always during the French Open.
Mm-hmm.
So, but Carlos has won Wimbledon twice already. Mm-hmm. He's won Wimbledon twice. He's won Roland Garros twice. He's won the US Open. He just needs the Australian Open. That's the one that eluded Rafa for a while too. That was the last one Rafa needed for his Grand Slam. Their careers are so eerily similar in paralleled.
It's pretty freaky. It's pretty freaky. Let me tell you something. I don't want to admit this because I don't know if my bosses are watching or nothing. I don't know. But that match was basically an entire shift. You know what I mean? And that's crazy. And I couldn't stop watching it. It was tremendous because 6-4 Sinner, 7-6 Sinner, 6-4 Alcaraz, 7-6 Alcaraz. Mirror images of one another.
Yep.
And then we go to, of course, the final set, Adelia. Of course, it's a 7-6. It couldn't go 6-4. It wasn't going to go 6-2. It was, because sometimes in the 5th set, one of the opponents is like gassed and it's like over.
Yeah.
But Sinner was like, no.
Sinner worked really hard to get that break back because he got broken the first game of the 5th set. He worked really hard to get that break back, got it back, and forced a tie break.
Yeah.
And at that point in the match, that's all he could do. It's just that when they got to that tie break, Carlos was like, I'm not losing today.
Machine.
Yeah.
Straight secretariat domination. And it shot down another great champion of our sport. Because Adelia, something had to give, Adelia. Something had to give. Carlos Alcaraz was 0-8 after dropping the first 2 sets.
Mm-hmm.
In a 5-rounders. Probably because 5-rounders, because
best of 5.
Best of 5, because of course you lose if you drop the first 2 sets in a best of 3, like no duh. So he's 0-8. But then Jannik Sinner is 0-4 in matches that go over 4.5 hours.
4 hours.
4 hours. So something had to give.
Something had to give.
And Jannik's, I guess, 4-hour thing was the one that gave, because he's 0-5 now. Jannik Sinner is winless in matches that last over 4 hours. I believe this is the first time Jannik Sinner's lost in a final. He was 3-0.
He was.
Now he's 3-1. Carlos now is 5-0.
5-0.
And I believe at the majors, Jannik Sinner hasn't beaten Carlos Alcaraz. No, scratch that. He beat him at Wimbledon.
Beat him at Wimbledon once.
In once.
In the quarterfinals.
The quarterfinals. So I believe
it's heavily in Alcaraz's favor.
3-1, I think. 3-1, 4-1 maybe.
Something like that.
So 3-1, 4-1. So they're 23, he's 22. Adelia, for the next 10 years. 10 years, 4 slams a year, 40 chances they'll meet.
Yeah.
There's a chance they meet 40 times. Hopefully everyone, stays healthy and they do get chances if they meet in the semis or the finals. There are chances, because if everything goes to plan, they're playing for 10 years. And you know what? Rafa and Djokovic played till like they're 37, so they're probably playing till like for 15 years. So 40 plus times we could have this match. We could have this match before. And you know what? I can't wait, because we like domination, but we need some little intrigue in between, right? No offense to the big 3. I love them. We're big fans of Rafa and Roger. Shout out to Novak.
I respect Novak. I don't like him very much.
100% I agree with you. I completely respect his game. Yeah, because you can't really. Him at Australia was something special. You know what I mean? Him at Australia, something special. Him at Wimbledon was pretty good. Was damn good as well. So I think he has 8. I think he has 10 Australia, 8 Wimbledons. And
it's a lot, yeah.
And 3 French, or 2.
I think he has 2 French Opens.
And then
I think it's 2.
And 2 USA.
And he has 3, I think,
3
US Opens.
Yeah.
I'll look it up.
Yes, 24 altogether, I believe, right? 24 altogether?
Yeah.
So it's
I'll
8.
look it up.
Okay, yeah. So, but the problem is there wasn't a lot of intrigue when they came into a tournament, because you're like, we know who the 3 semifinalists are, and we know some combination of the fun. But you know what I mean? But because it's only 2 of them. It's just Carlos and Jannik. So there's still a chance that they, with the big 3, it was 3 of them. So it's kind of like the variability got shrunken down because of the 3. Because, if one of them is not having a good tournament, the other 2 is going to have a good tournament, and then that's it. But with these 2, let's say they roll into a tournament and Jannik and Carlos don't have a good tournament. Yeah. Fritz made the final against Jannik in the US, and people thought the power of America could help Taylor win. Didn't happen, but there's still it's domination with a sprinkle of intrigue. You still don't know yet. They're still young, so you still don't know, but you're excited. You're excited, man. Oh my God, what a match. What a match.
This is easily one of the, I would say, 3 best matches I've ever seen in my life.
Mm-hmm.
It was so good.
I need to watch Wimbledon 08. Wherever that is.
Wimbledon 08. I think that's on ESPN Plus.
I'll find it.
I'll find it for you.
More celebrities, Adelia. Natalie
celebrities.
Portman and Pharrell were there.
Yeah.
As
I
well
was
as
wrong, by the way.
Dustin Hoffman and George Russell.
Djokovic has 4 US Opens.
Okay.
And 3 French Opens.
So 10 and 8. It's 18.
I think he only has 7 Wimbledons. Let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 7 Wimbledons.
Oh, so it's 7. Okay. Because the record's 8? Is the record 8?
I think the record would be 8, yeah.
With Roger and Sampras, correct?
Roger and Sampras each have 7.
Oh, they each have 7.
So Djokovic has tied it.
Okay.
And I think if he were to win Wimbledon, he'd break it.
Okay.
Let's talk about Djokovic real quick before we
Yes.
talk about other celebrities. He loses the semifinal to Sinner in straight sets.
Yep.
He kisses the clay. He scoops up some of the clay. These are not the actions of a man who's, in his mind, 100% going to come back there next year.
You know what?
He's 38 years old. He'll be 39 by the time that it's the Roland Garros next year. And I think he has these moments where he can still go deep in a tournament, get to the semifinals, get to a final. He won Geneva a couple weeks ago. But I think that this year it's been more obvious than ever that Djokovic isn't the same.
No. So I think he's starting to realize I may not be able to beat these two.
Yeah.
Because last time he's faced these two, they've taken him out.
Sinner has I'm going to look up Sinner's head-to-head with Djokovic. But Sinner has a really good head-to-head against Djokovic.
Yeah, because I remember watching the 2 Djokovic matches where it was, it's like, Sinner at center court in Australia in a semifinal. He's a guaranteed victory. And Yannick beat him in straight sets, I think. And I think that's when Sinner was like, I think that's when Djokovic was like, oh, these kids ain't scared. They don't care that I'm Novak Djokovic. Andre Rublev cared that I was Novak Djokovic. Matteo Berrettini cared if I was Novak Djokovic.
Mm-hmm.
Stefano Tsitsipas cared that I was Novak. But this Yannick Sinner kid, he doesn't care. He doesn't care. I'm not Joker. I'm Novak to him.
Yeah.
This
is the thing that I like about the youngsters of this Sinner and Alcaraz generation is they don't have the baggage that everyone else had when you would lose before you'd walk out of the locker room. They know that they can beat these guys. And the only one of the big 3 that's left is Djokovic. And that means he has the biggest target on his back.
Yeah.
Out of the senior players. It's 5-4 Sinner, the head-to-head with Djokovic.
Yeah, but I think Sinner's on like a winning streak, isn't he?
Sinner has won the last 4.
Yeah. So when Sinner was young, it was 4-1. And then now Sinner is in his early 20s. He routed off. Yeah, it's like, what I mean? So it's like, yeah. So like, yeah, he beat him when he was like 19.
Sinner has won the last 4, including the last 2 at majors.
Exactly. Australia and US?
Australia and here at Roland Garros.
Oh, Roland Garros. Oh, yeah, Roland Garros. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. See, he beat it's like the Novak situation where I think, was it, he lost to Roger? Or was it Rafa? Where he said, I had him where I wanted him.
That was Novak against Rafa.
Yeah, so he's like, I had him. It's like just like Yannick. He's like,
before he was anybody, anybody knew anything about Novak Djokovic, he was like, I had him where he had to retire from that match. He was like, I had him right where I wanted him. Yeah. And everybody was like, what are you talking about? But you know what, he might have, because he's the only guy that's ever beaten Nadal more than once at Roland Garros.
Yeah, but not in the final though.
Not in the final.
Roland Garros final Nadal is something else.
Yeah.
Go ask Casper Ruud about it. Actually, don't ask him because he probably doesn't want to talk about it. I don't know why I keep taking shots at Casper.
Why is Casper Ruud taking strays here?
I don't know. Shout out to you, Casper. Shout out to my main guy. But yeah, man, it's gonna be it's. I'm still waving the Ben Shelton flag. I think he couldn't probably throw his name in the ring. But who else? Adelia, I think the youngsters are Joao Fonseca is being thrown.
Fonseca's really, really green though.
Yeah.
He either plays on pure instinct or he looks like he has never been told what tactics are.
Yeah. So who could be that third or fourth member, Adelia? Who could be? Let's say this is because during the final, Brian Anderson and shout out to Brian Anderson and John McEnroe kept talking about how like one was like one followed Nadal, the other followed Roger. Who will be the Novak? You know what I mean? Or who will be the Andy or the Stan? I don't know, man. I don't know.
We have a question in the chat here from Mozzie474.
I do, Mozzie.
Carlos Alcaraz is the most complete player in the history of tennis. How many Grand Slams do you guys think he will win?
Oh, well, that's a bold statement. That's a bold statement.
He's very good.
Yes.
I don't know though if I can put a number on it.
I'm going double digits.
It's definitely going to be double digits.
I'm going double digits.
It's definitely going to be double digits.
I'm going 12.
Somebody else is going to have to come up to compete with him in Sinner for it to be as low as 12, I think.
Oh, that's true. That's right. 20 then.
I think that we went from the generation where Pete Sampras hit, 14, and nobody ever thought anyone would ever hit that many Grand Slams again.
I thought it was 18.
No, I don't think Pete Sampras won 18 Grand Slams. And then we got to Rafa and Roger and Novak, and it went into the 20s. If no one comes up to challenge him in Sinner, it could go past Novak
9,
and
10, 11, 12, 13. Oh yeah, 14. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, 14.
Yeah. Adelia. Yeah, Adelia was right. Back in the day, 14 was a lot. 14 is probably the baseline of him. I think he at least gets 14. So there's that. But if no one rises up and challenges him, then I don't think it happens. But then
that was me, right?
That was you. Yeah, I think that was
okay.
You. But then also too, I think the baseline is 14, Adelia, for him. But then I also think like it was all three of them were fighting for their titles, but they all got 20. You know what I mean? They all got a minimum of 20.
Yeah.
So I think he can get 20.
Oh, here's what I was saying when it cut out on me. I think that it's probably going to be someone slightly younger than Alcaraz and Sinner that comes up to challenge them. So I don't know if it's going to be I don't know if it's going to be a Joao Fonseca. He's probably the one that I think a lot of people would throw the name around on right now, but he hasn't done anything yet to prove to me that he's going to challenge these guys like this. He's very good, but he's very raw and he's very green and he needs some tactics and some better coaching. I don't know that, like, Djokovic came out of nowhere for me that when in 2008 and when he won in Australia. Like, I'd heard of Novak Djokovic. I knew of Novak Djokovic. I didn't think Novak Djokovic was a guy that was going to win 20-something Grand Slams.
Yep.
So I don't know if we could say who it could be yet. There's, some young Czech players that are really good, like Mensik. There's some young French players that are really good, like Arthur Fies and Hugo Humbert. Do those guys take it up another level and get to a level where they can compete for Grand Slams? Even if the third member of this trio that we're speculating on doesn't win as many as Sinner and Alcaraz, I still don't know who that third member would be. Alcaraz, I think, will end up with more than Sinner because I think he's a more complete player. But I can't put a number beyond it being a lot on how many Alcaraz is going to win because you also just don't know. Rafa could have a whole lot more Grand Slams than he has because he missed so many Grand Slams through injury. We hope that doesn't happen to Carlos, but we don't know what that kind of injury future holds for him or for Sinner or for anybody else on the tour, unfortunately. So I think Carlos Alcaraz is a special, 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 special talent. And I think he's proving that, but I can't put a number on how good he's going to be yet.
Yeah, it's a toss up. It's a toss up. What if like Yannick goes on a run and be like, bam? You know what I mean?
I think Wimbledon will be interesting because Carlos is the 2-time defending champ there. And Yannick's going to have to get over losing those 3 championship points.
Yeah.
And how well does he do that? I think that'll be interesting to see. I don't know. I kind of feel like neither one of them is going to win Wimbledon, though. I could be completely wrong about that. But I kind of feel like neither one of them is going to win.
Interesting.
If you had to pick someone to win Wimbledon right now, not having seen a match on grass yet, who are you picking?
Wait, repeat that?
Not having seen a match on grass yet this season, who's winning Wimbledon?
I think Alcaraz makes it 3 in a row.
That's really hard to do.
Didn't Novak and Roger do that?
I mean, yeah, but it's not like it's easy.
Yeah, you're right. Sampras almost did that, and then someone stopped him, and then Bjorn Borg called that person and thanked him for doing that. Petty ass Bjorn Borg. Shout out to you, Bjorn, being that petty. I'm never going to talk about tennis, but I'm going to call that person for stopping Pete Sampras.
Wasn't that Roger?
It was Roger. He called Roger to be like, thank you.
Yeah.
First time Bjorn Borg ever talked about tennis was thanking Roger Federer for stopping Pete Sampras from doing I think 4 in a row, because he would have broken the record.
Yeah, and then Roger won 5 in a row.
Yeah. Then Roger broke it, and he's like, "You're gonna call me?" No, okay. I think I'm gonna go. Yeah, I'm gonna go with. Yo, Wimbledon is weird because I thought Ons Jabeur was gonna win Wimbledon, and then that lady took her out.
Wimbledon can get weird.
Like, I didn't even know homegirl name.
Marketa Vondrousova.
Yeah, was that her? Was it her?
It was Elena Rybakina the first year, and then Marketa Vondrousova the next year.
Yeah, so I'm like Jabeur. What?
I don't even think Marketa Vondrousova is playing right now. I don't remember her being at Roland Garros.
I don't think she had a good. I think she then came to U.S. Open, and I think she lost in like the 3rd round, and like no one was like, okay, so like the women's side I don't know, but the men's side I'm gonna go Alcaraz, cause who here
Okay, Vondrousova lost to Pegula in the 3rd round at the French.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Alcaraz. Alcaraz, yeah. Yeah.
See, not only is the 3 in a row the difficult, but the back-to-back Roland Garros to Wimbledon thing is really difficult too, just because the surfaces are so different.
And grass, you only get like what, 2 weeks on grass, and then it's
3
Wimbledon.
Weeks.
It's 3 weeks on grass. So it's 3 weeks on grass, and then boom, July, Wimbledon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Was it late July?
No, it's like 4th of July.
4th of July?
Yeah. Let me see what time Wimbledon starts this year.
Wait, then you only get 2 weeks then, basically.
This is the first full week of June, so 3 weeks.
Oh, yeah, right. Oh, my God.
Wimbledon is June 30th to July 13th this year.
Yeah, you get 2 weeks.
It's the 9th right now, Fares.
This week, next week, and then boom, Wimbledon.
No.
What you talking about?
June 30th. Today is June 9th. That's 21 days. So 21 days from today, 3 weeks, Wimbledon will start.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Wait, Wimbledon starts on a Monday?
Yes.
Then it ends on a Friday?
On a Sunday.
On a Sunday?
Yes.
So
they hold very tight to those 2 weeks. I have a feeling that's changing though.
Wait, no. If it's so it's June. You
June
said June.
30th is a Monday.
Okay.
July 13th is a Sunday.
Oh, 13th. Okay, 13th. Got it. My bad. I was thinking of the 6th for a minute.
No.
Yeah, 2 weeks. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna go Alcaraz. I'm gonna go Alcaraz.
I'm going the field. I'm not taking Alcaraz or Sinner. I'm gonna pick someone else, but I don't know who.
Ben Shelton.
I'd love to see it.
Yeah. Shout out to Ben.
All right, we've got another comment here from. Do you both think Novak or Jack Draper have a chance to reach the final of Wimbledon? Because I agree with the host. Alcaraz will win. I think
Jack. Yes.
Jack Draper.
Yeah.
I think
he had a great Indian Wells.
He's up to 4 in the world. All the pressure is going to be on him at Wimbledon, though.
Yeah.
And it's a matter of how does he respond to that pressure.
He's going to get Andy Murray.
I don't know that it's necessarily going to... He'll get Andy Murray, but he'll get Tim Henman if he can't handle it. You know what I mean? Because Tim Henman never got to that Wimbledon final.
Okay, that's what you meant. Got it. Yeah.
Andy Murray was the first Brit in like 100 years, basically.
Just to get to the final.
77 years to get to a final and then win it. Mm-hmm. He won it twice. Like, even on the women's side, nobody's won it that's a Brit since Virginia Wade in like 1977, I think is the year.
Looking at you, Katie Bowler.
Katie Bolter has a chance. All the pressure is always going to be on Emma Raducanu because she's won one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some happen. I don't know, man. That U.S. Open was just crazy.
That U.S. Open was crazy. Yeah.
And then
there's nothing else you can say about it. Also crazy is how like the Canadians can't win a goddamn match anymore.
No, they all fell up. You know, it's Ryan. That's Ryan Christensen's fault.
How is it Ryan's fault?
I don't know. I just want to blame somebody. So I'm going to blame Ryan.
I think Novak has a chance to reach the final of Wimbledon because it's Novak and Wimbledon. You can never count out Novak.
Yeah, the Canadians are snake bitten, Adelia.
Yeah. I'm just going back to Azrak's question. Jack Draper. I think Jack's going to make a deep run at Wimbledon. I don't know if I'd have him in the finals of Wimbledon yet. A lot of things would have to fall his way.
I got to give him the semis.
What's the farthest he's gone? Has he made a quarterfinal at Wimbledon yet?
Let's check. Jackie. He is British tennis royalty.
Last year he made the second round.
Yeah, that's not good.
No.
His best appearance is the semifinals last year at the U.S. Open. Ugh.
Like, here's the thing. The bookies in the UK already have Jack Draper tipped to upset Carlos Alcaraz at Wimbledon. This is the kind of stuff I'm talking about can he handle it? Because the entire country will have their eyes on him.
What about Cam Norrie?
He lost. I don't think Cam Norrie's going far.
Cam Norrie went to TCU? That's funny. That's funny. Not gonna lie, that's kind of funny. Yeah.
I think Jack Draper has a lot of potential, and I think Jack Draper will do well at Wimbledon. I don't know if he's ready for I don't know if I'm ready to say he's going to reach the final. But like anything can happen at Wimbledon. So.
Yeah, he's also a Manchester United fan, so I honestly don't care.
Speaking of that, did you see the article I sent you about Andy Murray and Rafa?
Oh, I think you've showed me that. I think you've told me that story, but I need to reread it.
No, I have not told you this story because I didn't hear about it until like today when I was doing research for notes for the show.
I know
after Arsenal knocked Real Madrid out of the Champions League, Andy Murray, who is an Arsenal fan, immediately texted Rafa, who is a Real Madrid fan, and was just like, "How you doing?" And Rafa thought that he was just checking up on him and asking how the family was before he realized what Andy was doing.
Yeah. After 5 seconds, I said, "It's always the British sense of humor."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, can we talk about the story Andre Agassi told on Andy Roddick's podcast?
Yeah, where he saw. So it goes. So he's in the locker room, and Andre Agassi. I think it was 2002, three, maybe, or in the early 2000s, and he's in the locker room. He's like the players do, and he peers out. He peers across the locker room, and he sees Rafa Nadal. I think Rafa's 17. I think
17. This has to be the year that he won the French Open for the first time.
had to be. And they give you a code to your locker. Your locker's locked. You do the code, and then it opens. And Rafa is, doing the code, and it's not working. And he does it again, and it's not working. And he's pulling on it, and he smacks it, and he's getting angry, and he's just mad. He's fighting. He's like, and he does it
Not
again.
unlike how young Adelia was with her high school locker.
Yeah, and then he does it one more time, and then he unlocks it, and then as it unlocks, he yells "Vamos!" and then he smacks the locker, and he opens it up, and Andre Agassi says,
"That's when I knew I'd never beat him." He was in a war with a locker and he was going to win
it. By the way, speaking of the funny thing about Andy Murray, he says, by the way, the Spaniard concluded, I didn't text him back when PSG beat Arsenal. Touche, Rafa. Touche. Touche. Because did you see the video of Carlos after Roland Garros where he's happy and someone tells him, oh yeah, by the way, Portugal beat Spain, and he goes from really happy to like, oh come on, man.
I have not seen that, but I can imagine.
Yeah, so someone tweeted out and said, you could be on top of the world. You just won the greatest match in the world.
Yeah.
And football would somehow screw your day up.
Yeah.
You know what?
Well, it's like 2010. Rafa won Wimbledon and then went down to South Africa to watch the World Cup final. And he was like, Spain's biggest cheerleader in that final. Yeah. And they won and he got to celebrate with them and everything. And I'm sure Carlos would love something like that with the Spanish national team.
I think so. Some transitioning. We're about to close out the show and to more of the starting 11. I believe someone told me Spain is an Erling Haaland striker away from world domination.
Again, yeah, they needed Fernando Torres or a David Villa again.
Yeah, shout out to El Toro.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, Ferris.
But on that note, let's wrap it up. We're not gonna go all night long like Carlos Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner did.
I'm curious. One last thing. I'm curious what the next tattoo will be for Carlos because they asked him that on the TNT Post show, and he said, "I have to talk to my dad."
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good conversation. I'm tattooed less because my body is a temple. So there's that. That's actually incorrect. I just ate some snacks that are not healthy for me.
Yeah, you can't see it. There you go.
Oh, hey.
That's my 40th birthday tattoo.
I actually have a tattoo as well.
No, you don't.
Yeah, I have a back one. It's like a big old back tattoo.
No, you don't.
It's a bald eagle. But on that note, everyone, thank you guys so much for joining us. We appreciate you guys' support. Make sure to like the video, subscribe. But also, too, guys, we didn't really touch upon it, but this channel is being rebranded. Mm-hmm. We are no longer LGRN Sports. We are Good Friends, Better Rivals because we've realized almost every show on this channel involves two people
who are good friends.
Who are good friends, but cheer for teams that are direct rivals for one another. Yeah. Adelia with Snark, with Chelsea Arsenal, me and Caleb with New York Giants, Dallas Cowboys. I think the only show where they're not rivals are me and Adelia on the rally.
Yeah, we got another question here. The Roland Garros final between Carlos and Jannik was at a very high level. Is it better than Wimbledon 2008? You can't answer this. I can't answer this because I never seen Wimbledon 08. But if Wimbledon 08 is, if people kept saying no, this is a great match, but Wimbledon 08 was better. So I guess Wimbledon 08 is like the Sistine Chapel. Wimbledon 08 is considered the greatest match of all time. Okay. We need to watch Strokes of Genius and do a review of it for the channel, I think, because then I think you'll understand a little bit more. about why people consider that the greatest match of all time. I watched Wimbledon 2008 live, rain delays and all, and that's a special, special match. This match from this weekend is one of the 3 best matches I've ever seen. The 3 best matches I've ever seen are this match, the 2012 Australian Open final, and Wimbledon 2008. I still put Wimbledon 2008 above, but I think I'd probably put this year's Roland Garros final second.
Better than
I think I'd put it ahead, because Australia 2012 in the end was just so hard to watch because they were both cramping and they were both just struggling. Like they had to get chairs for the, chairs for the trophy presentation for that match because they were both just so exhausted. It's very close to Wimbledon 2008, this final from Sunday, but I do think Wimbledon 2008 is a little bit better.
I saw it said it's on Apple TV Plus.
Strokes of Genius?
Yeah.
Oh,
so
we'll figure it out.
Okay.
It used to be on Tennis Channel. I don't know if it still is. TC Plus.
Okay. Probably not, because they decided to get rid of everything.
True, but we'll figure it out and we'll watch it.
All right, but on that note, everyone, thank you guys so much for joining us. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe. Adelia, do you have anything else to add?
No. We'll probably have a playoff beards coming up soon on this channel. For those of you who like the NHL, because the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs are going on, the Stanley Cup finals are going on, and I don't think that this series is going to be all that long after today's game. So we'll see about that. That'll be with Snark and Ryan and probably me. And then maybe soon, hopefully, my life will calm down and stop being such utter shit, so we can do another episode of The Open Table over on the post-credits channel. No longer the entertainment channel, but now the post-credits channel. There's links to the channels in the description of this episode. Do check it out. And we've got the Rewatchers console going on over there as well, but I'm not going to be on those this week because there's no way I will have caught up in time. So,
all right. But on that note, everyone, thank you guys so much for joining us. Have a wonderful day. We'll see y'all next time. Peace.